Good morning, afternoon and evening all, this is Yorkie, I hope you're doing well. Today we have episode 15 of our in-depth track guide, looking at Suzuka, a track that relies on a very good car setup. So let's take a look at the lap. Okay, so now you've seen the hot lap, let's move on to the breakdown. As soon as you gain control of the car, you want to slam on the brakes and get the car slowed down and turned into this final chicane. You want to open up the left hander of the chicane, give yourself a better exit, open up your DRS and start draining your curves as soon as possible as we come down to the start-finish line. As we come down the start-finish straight, we're going to keep the car to the left-hand side, ready for turn 1 and 2. Our braking point just before the 50-metre board at the start of the grey concrete. There is a bump on entry, so be wary of this, but we're going to shift down into 5th gear as we come through the first part. You use the brakes ever so slightly. You want to try and carry as much speed as you can through the apex. It isn't really important to hook up the curb on the inside, more just setting yourself up for turn 2. We're going to bring the car back out left. We're going to use a little bit more of the braking to bring ourselves down into 3rd gear. We're going to turn the car in. We're aiming to clip the apex on the inside of the corner just here, using the red and white curbing. We're going to follow this bend round and let the car drift out to the left hand side of the track, use the curb on the outside and open up DRS before bringing it back right, ready for turn 3. You want to keep this relatively full throttle. You can throw the car in, you're aiming to get your apex just here, just before the green AstroTurf on the inside of the curb there. Clipping this, we're going to give it a slight lift as we come into turns 4 now. Flip the car to the right. You want to try and get as close to the inside curb as possible, but running it isn't as important. Upon exit, we're going to let the car drift to the middle of the track. I'm going to bring it back over to the right slightly, then flick it back left, ready for turn 5. You want to run as much of the curb on the inside as possible, aiming to clip your front left wheel on the curbing, just here. This is the apex of the corner. I'm going to follow the corner around, just balancing the throttle as we go through this section, until we get into this long sweeping right-hander. You want to try and hug the inside curb, clipping your apex roughly here. This is where you start to bring the power back in. You're going to let the car slowly start to drift towards the outside of the corner. As we come out, there's a nice bump right here that helps bring us back over to the right hand side of the track, ready for this long fast left hander. This is completely flat out as long as you get the right turn-in point, and also if you use that bump to advantage, it really aids you in getting a really nice smooth line. As we come out through the exit, we're going to let the car drift out wide. We're going to open up the DRS as soon as you feel comfortable, and we're basically just going to follow the corner around. As we now come into sector 2, we're looking for our braking point here, just before the digital flag marshal boarding up on the left. Braking here, we're going to shift down 2 gears into 4th. We're going to throw the car in and aim to clip our apex on the inside curb just here. As we come out through the exit, you want to get back on the power as soon as possible. You can open up the DRS if you feel comfortable, but we're going to look again for our braking point for turn 9, just before the bridge. Roughly here, probably about 5 meters before the end of the curbing on the outside. So hitting the braking point, I'm going to brake and shift down into second gear. I'm going to turn the car in, and you want to take a little bit of a curb off on the inside. You can use a green AstroTurf on the inside if you feel like it. As we come out through the corner, let the car run out wide. We're going to use a curb on the outside. You're going to open up your DRS and you're going to shift your brake bias into the rear, ready for turn 10 and 11. As we come through turn 10, it's completely flat out, and we're once again about 5-10 meters before the end of the curb on the right hand side is our braking point for the hairpin or turn 11. So in this, we're going to brake relatively hard, but not completely full throttle, full brake capacity. Sorry. And we're going to turn the car in, and we're aiming to get our apex clipping here on the inside curb. As we come through this, we're going to be relatively patient on the throttle, just balance it on the exit. And let the car drift out wide, start bringing the throttle in. You get your DRS open, and as soon as you've got traction, start draining about 50% of your cars. As we come through the long right hand of turn 12, you keep the DRS completely open, you're going to bring the brake bias back up into neutral. And as we look for the dark patch in the middle of the track there, just before that is our braking point for turn 13 and 14, otherwise known as spoon curve. Hitting our braking point, we're going to shift it down into 4th gear. Clipping the inside curb isn't important for this first part, it's more about lining yourself up for turn 14 itself. As we come through, we're going to let the car drift out to the outside of the track. You can use a little bit of the curb. You want to keep your DRS shut, and you basically want to bring the car back in, aiming to run the curb on the inside of turn 14. You can start to get on the power roundabout here as the car dips down into the hill. Let the car drift out wide. You open up your DRS as we run the exit curb ever so slightly and drain about 20% of your cars as you come up the long hill. We're now approaching the very fast 130R, and we're looking for the Pirelli board right there. As soon as we hit the shadow, close the DRS, we're going to throw the car in. We're going to run the curb ever so slightly on the inside, clipping your front left wheel here. As you come out through the exit, let the car drift back over to the right, open up your DRS, as you come down to the final chicane. Our braking point is about 150 meters before the corner. Unfortunately, there's no brakeboard marker, so it's more about feel. There isn't really any reference points. We want to try and keep the car to the left hand side. And we turn the car in, and we're aiming to get our front right wheel clipping this point here. I end up taking a little bit too much off this first part of the chicane, as it was quite far over into the entry point. It should be a little bit further left. But as we come through the second part, we want to ride the curb on the inside. Once again, you can take a tiny little bit off, as I do so here. But as you come out the corner, you want to let the car drift out wide. You want to get on the power as soon as possible. Open up your DRS once you've got traction and start draining your cars. And just be careful of that dip as you come past the pit lane entry. So there isn't really many general tips for this track. It's more about the setup. If you get a good setup and a nice flow through the S's, it can really help hook up a lap. It's probably the most important part of the track. Also, make sure to use the rear brake bias for turn 11 in the hairpin, as it is very easy to lock the front right wheel as you come through the very fast turn 10. There are a couple of bumps on the track, one of them being on the entry to turn 1, and of course the horrible bump that is through turn 18 at the pit lane entry. So that concludes this in-depth track guide. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a rating, leave any comments or questions, and of course don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more in-depth track guides and F1 content in the future. I hope to see you soon, guys. Take care.